The waitress with no last name. The night everything unraveled began with a scream, sharp enough to slice through the clatter of the downtown Chicago restaurant. A wine glass shattered, a chair toppled, and I remember thinking nothing about this night should have gone wrong. But I hadn't yet met her. Before I tell you what really happened. If you're already hooked, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles, stories that remind us the world still has good in it. Now, back to the moment everything spun off its axis. I'm Daniel Harper, a 32-year-old single dad, still learning how to braid hair on school mornings. My daughter, Lily, is my whole universe. Her mother passed away 3 years ago, and every day since has felt like trying to build a house out of matchsticks during a windstorm. But we've been holding steady. That night, I was on my first blind date in 2 years, forced into it by my relentlessly hopeful sister, Amelia. She'd said the woman was sweet, grounded, and exactly what your heart needs, Danny. I wasn't sure my heart needed anything besides peace and enough coffee to stay awake at work, but I agreed. Her name was Claire. And she was late. Very late. I sat in that quiet corner booth, adjusting the collar of a shirt I only wore to weddings and PTA meetings, wondering if I'd been stood up. The restaurant was warm, filled with low golden light and the hum of soft piano. Couples leaned close, whispering. Servers glided between tables with the grace of trained dancers. And that's when I noticed her. A waitress with auburn hair pulled into a loose, uneven bun. She wore no makeup, no jewelry except a thin silver bracelet, and she kept her eyes down as though afraid the world might judge them. There was something almost trembling about her presence, like she lived in a delicate space between wanting to be seen and wanting to disappear. She approached me with a shy, apologetic smile. "Are you waiting for someone?" she asked. I nodded. "Blind date." Her cheeks warmed. "Oh. That explains the nerves." "I'm not nervous," I said a little too quickly. Her smile turned into a quiet laugh, the kind that slips out before someone can catch it. Something softened in me. But then, something happened that neither of us could explain. A man at the table across from mine staggered up, shouting. Drunk. Furious. His face was red, his movements clumsy. Before I could rise from my seat, he grabbed the waitress's wrist, her wrist. "Where's my drink?" he snarled. "You think you can ignore me?" She flinched, but didn't pull away. I saw the fear flash across her face, the kind someone learns too well. "Let her go," I said, standing. The man turned, eyes wild. "Sit down and mind your business." "She's not your property," I said. "Let her go." The restaurant stilled. The drunk man squeezed her wrist harder. She winced, breath tightening. I stepped closer, heart pounding. "If you don't let her go, I'll." "You'll what?" He shoved her away. She stumbled, nearly falling. That scream, that glass shattering, that chaos, that was her. I caught her just before she hit the floor. Security swarmed. The drunk was escorted out with curses bouncing off the walls. The restaurant buzzed with shaken whispers. She pulled away from me, hugging her arms tightly, as though she wanted to fold inward until she vanished. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to ruin your night." "You didn't ruin anything." Her eyes lifted to mine, slowly, carefully, like someone raising a window after years of them being nailed shut. There was gratitude there. But also, something like sorrow. And then, the strange part. She apologized again. Not to me. But to the empty booth behind me. I turned. "Are you expecting someone?" She blinked. A pause took shape between us. "No," she said too quickly. "Sorry. Sometimes I mix things up." I didn't understand then. But I would. Much later. And the truth would blow every assumption I had to dust. The manager told her to take a break. She disappeared behind the swinging kitchen doors. I sat back down, pulse still unsteady. That's when my phone buzzed with a text from my sister. "Amelia, Danny, don't freak out, but Claire's not coming. Something happened. I'll explain later." Me, you set me up with a ghost? Amelia, just go home. Forget tonight happened. I stared at the message. Forget tonight? Impossible. Because 5 minutes later, the waitress returned, eyes red, shoulders trembling, but she came straight to me. "Do you want some company?" she asked. "You look like you could use a friend." I could have said no. Should have said no. But loneliness, quiet and hungry, sat beside me, and I didn't want to be alone. We talked for an hour. Then 2. The restaurant closed around us. She told me her name was Emily. Just Emily. She avoided questions about her life. She said she worked 3 jobs, had no family nearby, and didn't date. But she listened. Really listened. And I found myself telling her things I'd never said out loud, about grief, fatherhood, fear, dreams, all the fragile pieces inside me I kept glued shut. Her eyes shone with something like recognition. Like she carried her own fragile pieces too. When we finally stepped outside into the cold night, she hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "Why did you stand up for me?" I shrugged. "Because you deserved someone to." She inhaled sharply, as though the words had hit something deep. "People don't usually think that about me." "They should," I said. "They really should." She looked at me the way someone looks at a sunrise after a week of storms. Then she said something that puzzled me for months. "One day, Daniel, you're going to find out something about me. Something that might change everything. If that day comes, I hope you remember who I was tonight." Before I could ask what she meant, she turned and hurried down the sidewalk, disappearing into the blur of streetlights. I didn't know it then. But that night wasn't the beginning of a love story. It was the beginning of a truth so shocking, so impossible, that it would tear open every mystery she held, and tie back to the scream, the shattered glass, and the way she apologized to an empty booth. A truth that would change both our lives. Forever. The daughter of the Ghost King. 3 weeks passed before I saw her again. During those weeks, Lily wouldn't stop asking about the nice lady from the restaurant. My daughter only met her briefly, barely long enough for Emily to compliment her pigtails, but Lily had a radar for gentle people. I checked the restaurant 3 times. But each time, they said the same thing. She quit. She didn't leave a number. She didn't tell anyone why. It felt like losing someone I'd barely gotten the chance to know. Then, out of nowhere, I got a voicemail from my sister, Amelia. She was crying. "Danny, you need to come to Grant Park right now. It's about your date, the one who never showed. It's complicated." I rushed there. Amelia stood near a fountain, hands twisting nervously. "Claire, your blind date," she began. "She wasn't who I thought. I never actually met her. Someone else scheduled it for you. Someone who said they'd explain everything later." "What? Who?" But before she could answer, a black SUV rolled up. 2 men in tailored suits stepped out, not threatening, but the kind of men whose shoes cost more than my rent. One of them asked, "Daniel Harper?" "Yeah," I said, heart thudding. "Miss Sterling would like to speak with you." "Who?" He opened the back door. And out stepped Emily. Not in a waitress uniform. Not shy or trembling. But in a charcoal gray coat, hair neatly styled, eyes steady. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Or a boardroom. "Daniel," she said softly, "we need to talk." "Sterling."